Hey, peace, everyone. Welcome back to the Progressive Brothers podcast. This is episode 5. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and let's rock and roll. This space of ours, this social space, has been under fire in the last maybe 9 to 12 months at best. And what we've seen is a concerted effort to try and drive a wedge in between progressive brothers on the left, brothers who want change, brothers who want transformational change within the domestic politic body of black politics, overrun by and overshadowed by conspiracy theorists sort of perspectives over the last 9 to 12 months. And so what does this mean overall for us who want social transformational change within the black body politic? We have to have a better message. We can't allow ourselves to constantly be bogged down with conspiracy theory, QAnon sort of ideas coming from opposing voices who won't take a side politically. Now, some people will say, well, what about freedom of speech? What about the First Amendment? I get that. But when you have people who want to malign our cause, we can't afford to get bogged down with extremist ideologies. Extremist ideologies in the sense that they don't adhere to history, at least not factually speaking. Extremist ideology in the sense that they don't care about data unless it suits their best interests for the sake of discussion. Extremist ideology in the sense that scientific research is thrown out. Extremist perspectives that mean that anything that revolves around productivity and progress seems to get dismissed immediately. And so we have to keep in mind that these are ways of creating disinformation campaigns against any sort of trajectory to progress. This is where we are right now. We have been completely overrun in this space by people who look like us but don't have our best interests. They won't take a side, but they always seem to speak from a perspective that opposes the views of progress, but don't actually identify which side they're on. And so we have to make sure that our message is clear and concise and that it doesn't get involved in the back and forth of conspiracy theory, QAnon ideas. Whether they call themselves tinfoil, kufis, or whatever it is, we have to keep in mind that everything going forward in 2021 has to revolve around progress. There has to be a track record. That's why this channel exists. It's not here for analytics. It's here to create a track record. They don't have a track record outside of the conspiracy theory, information laundering. That's what this is about for them. Creating more dystopia within the space so that they can't have any sort of social or political advancement within the group. They won't take their arguments to the other side with people who don't look like them because it would never be supported. And so the way we combat this is asymmetric. Asymmetrically speaking, in the sense that we speak from a position that can be factually researched, data, science. Technocracy is the name of the game here. They cannot fight against the technocracy. They cannot fight against the technocratic perspective. And so they have to come up with the disinformation campaign, misinformation campaign, because that's the last tool in the box. An IED is an improvised explosive device. What the extremist propaganda has resulted in is Molotov cocktail bombs at the movement. And we can't afford to keep going back and forth with people who don't share our views just because they look like us, just because they want to engage us. We hear them, but we don't have to listen to them. And so the difference here is, for me personally, extremist propaganda, information laundering, all of that stuff just needs to be tuned out. We got to come up with the small victories to create the track record that is necessary so that people can actually understand where we're coming from and where we're trying to go. A lot of people who are in opposition to where we stand, they didn't exist 10 years ago. They were around, but they didn't have access to us because the digital divide kept them from actually engaging us. The emergence of the smartphone, the iPhone and the Android, somewhat the BlackBerry, has allowed them to engage us in ways that we had never thought of or even seen before. We had been completely insulated for the last decade or the last 2 presidential cycles away from the extremists. And so we have to further distance ourselves again, because if we keep going back and forth, if we keep engaging, it only further exacerbates the issue. Now, how long are we going to keep going back and forth with them without also focusing on what we need to be doing as well? That means let's build the track record, let's get the tangibles out the way, and let's move forward. Not to be bogged down with people who don't agree with us, not to be bogged down with conspiracy theory, not to be bogged down with extremist propaganda. People who speak from a perspective that don't open a book but can always go to Wikipedia. We have to put ourselves in a position where we create a DMZ or a demilitarized zone that isolates us from extremist propaganda, from the information launderers, the disinformation campaigns, misinformation campaigns. Now, if you like what I'm saying, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also follow us on Twitter at brothers_podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Have a good one.